Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Moran, and we begin today with that landmark Colorado State Supreme Court decision disqualifying former President Donald Trump from running in the state's 2024 presidential primary. In a sweeping ruling, Colorado's highest court declared that the Constitution, specifically the 14th Amendment, which prohibits anyone who has ever held public office and who, quote, engaged in insurrectional rebellion against the United States from ever holding public office again, that section bans Trump from appearing on the Colorado presidential primary ballot, the court ruled. Why? Trump's role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Trump campaign already fighting back against what they call a, quote, completely flawed decision, and they're vowing to appeal this ruling to the Supreme Court. My next guest was a witness in the Colorado case and an expert on the 14th Amendment, studying it long before the 2020 election. Indiana University law professor Gerard Magliocca joins me now. Thank you very much for being with us, and I appreciate it. This is a monumental case, and you're the guy to talk to. So let me ask you, in your testimony in this case, you said that the legal definition of an insurrection is, quote, the rising of people in arms against their government or a portion of it, or against one or more of its laws. So you were a witness in this case. What do you think of the ruling, and why do you think that this was the right thing to do, if you do?
Well, I think that this, as a matter of law, isn't really that complicated. January 6th was an insurrection against the Constitution. People have been calling it an insurrection for the last 3 years. It's no surprise. Donald Trump's role in the insurrection was overwhelming, as the court found in its various factual findings. And Section 3 covers all officials who take an oath to the Constitution. Now, the hard part is sort of getting people to take this seriously, because it's not been done for a long time and because of the huge consequences that it has. So it's really more of a political question for getting people to do it, rather than a question of, is it the legally correct result? I mean, the Colorado court's opinion is pretty convincing in saying why it is the legally correct result.
Well, I want to talk about that. What would you call it? The prudential reasons you might want to not want to do this. But if I could just follow up on the actual 14th Amendment and ask you this. That amendment was written in the wake of the Civil War, an insurrection that took the lives of several 100,000 Americans, 600,000, maybe more Americans. When did the authors of the 14th Amendment, when they said we don't want insurrectionists who had already taken an oath to the Constitution and broke it by being members of the Confederacy, have public office again, do you think they had in mind something like the riot at the Capitol?
Yes, because when we look at what people meant by insurrection in the years before the Civil War and even during the Civil War, it wasn't just an attempt to overthrow the government or some massive bloodshed event like the Civil War. It involved any use of force by a group of people for a public purpose to prevent the law or the Constitution from being executed. And indeed, even in 1861, when Lincoln was going to be sworn in confirmed as president by the joint session of Congress, there were concerns that people might attack the Capitol and stop the count from being undertaken. So people had in mind that this kind of thing could happen, and that it was one of a kind of event that could lead to an insurrection and that would trigger the ban. Indeed, there were senators at the time who said, when Section 3 was being discussed, that we intend this to apply to all future insurrections that might happen, not just the Civil War.
So let's talk about whether this is wise. It may fit squarely within the law. Is it wise? And a lot of people have argued that Trump shouldn't be kept off the ballot. He should be, if people have a problem with him, defeated at the ballot box by the American people. And one of the quotes that I came across, I think, after reading some of your stuff, the Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase, who served in the Lincoln War Cabinet, later became Chief Justice in a case that had something to do with this. He said the judges should be careful in this area. He said, quote, a construction and interpretation by judges which must necessarily occasion great public and private mischief must never be preferred to a construction which will occasion neither. In other words, go slow, go easy. Don't swing for the fences and let the people decide. How do you answer that?
Well, there are really two answers. One is that Section 3 gives us a solution to that problem by giving Congress the power to give people amnesty or a waiver from the Section 3 disqualification. So it's for Congress to decide whether the public interest calls for someone like Donald Trump to be able to run after they have engaged in insurrection. It's not a job for the courts. Second, it's worth pointing out that Chief Justice Chase was against Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And then when it was ratified, he thought that everybody should get amnesty from Congress. And when that didn't happen, he took it upon himself, in the opinion you quoted, to try to do what he could to blunt its effect. So he's not maybe the greatest source of authority for what Section 3 really means.
Fair enough. So you've been studying the 14th Amendment and this very question, which was prior to January 6th, 2021, a pretty obscure corner of the U.S. Constitution. Did you ever imagine that the research you've done, the work that you've done, and the knowledge that you've gained would be front and center in the American political life?
No. That's the short answer. The longer answer might be no and no way. But I guess the lesson maybe is try to learn what you can, because you never know whether it's going to be useful or not. And if it isn't, you learn something, and that's good just in and of itself. But maybe it turns out to be useful for other people.
Well, that's good advice. All right. Looking ahead, Trump is obviously going to appeal this to the United States Supreme Court. Do you think they take the case, and what do you think they'll do with it? What are you watching for if and when it comes before the Supreme Court?
Well, they will take the case, and they will move it as fast as they can to try to eliminate the uncertainty that would exist so long as we're not sure whether Donald Trump is eligible to serve as president or not. What they'll do with it, it's impossible to say. They've never dealt with a Section 3 case before, and they have no track record of decisions. So when you're in an area like that, predicting what the justices will think of it is almost impossible.
All right. Well, Gerard Magliocca, professor there at Indiana University, you're the man on this. We're really glad that you joined us. And if you'd like, we'd love to have you back as this case continues.
Thanks. Happy to do it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.